Would you like to work closer to home? Then Bellisio Foods is looking for you. That's right, Bellisio Foods is now hiring for multiple positions and shifts with great employee benefits, an on-site health clinic, competitive wages, and advancement opportunities. Bellisio Foods is a company that truly values their employees. Apply online at belisiofoods.com/careers.
At Vinton County National Bank, we believe in supporting the areas where we live and work. Now, we'd like to honor those who also serve our communities. Our new Community Champions account is especially for first responders, veterans, active military, and anyone employed in the fields of healthcare or education. This account offers rewards, discounts, and other benefits to those who give so much to others. Vinton County National Bank, rewarding those who serve.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the morning show right here on Main Street TV, where it is Monday, and our good friend Pete Wilson is back after the weekend with all kinds of news. And Pete, you had a busy weekend.
Well, they're all busy. There's lots going on, lots behind us, lots in front of us. But we're going to start off by talking, what was the big thing in this town last Friday, and that was the football game.
Yes.
The Jackson Ironmen playing the Bloom Carroll Bulldogs in a quarterfinal football game up at Alumni Stadium. Big crowd.
Yep.
Of course, we had Coach Hall here on Friday. He asked for a big crowd. He got a big crowd. And you know what? There was a well of a ball game.
Man, it was.
The only thing wrong with it was the other team pulled out a victory at the very end. It was an outstanding football game. Didn't go quite the way that some people thought. I mean, Coach Hall was kind of thinking maybe there would be a lot of points. There was not. The defenses kind of had the best of it.
Yep.
The final score, for those of you who were not at the game or heard much about it, was the Bloom Carroll Bulldogs 14, the Jackson Ironmen 10. Mm-hmm. Both teams are used to scoring about 40 points a game.
Yeah, wild.
And so it was that part was a little surprising. On the Ironmen side, they scored first. The Ironmen scored first, went up 7-0. Bodie Wolford, the sophomore quarterback, scored the first touchdown he has all season running the ball. He has passing touchdowns, but he ran this one, kind of fooled everybody. He ran from 10 yards in the first quarter. Jackson's up 7-0. Bloom Carroll couldn't do much running the ball. That's their forte. But they started to pass the ball effectively towards the end of the second quarter, and they were able to score right before the end of the half to make it a 7-7 ball game. In the third quarter, Bloom Carroll was getting the best of it, but neither team had scored. Ryan Simons, one of Jackson's outstanding young players, only a sophomore, made an interception, returned it into Bloom Carroll territory. Jackson was not able to get a touchdown, but they got close enough through Ethan Crabtree to use
his mighty leg.
That mighty leg of his to kick a 44-yard field goal.
Shut up, really?
Right, 44 yards. He had done a 46-yarder earlier, so kicked 4 or 5 field goals this year. But that gave Jackson a 10-7 lead. And so it went back and forth, some punts. Bloom Carroll was moving the ball, but they couldn't quite score. Jackson, unfortunately, was limited. They've got lots of ways that they can hurt you. That's happened all year. But their top performer all year has been Cade Wolford.
Yeah.
And when he was running the ball late in the first quarter, got hit in the head. Now, we didn't really know what was happening, but when he came off the field, obviously there was a problem. There's Cade running the ball. I don't know whether that's his big run, but he got loose on a 56-yard run that set up Bodie's 10-yard run on the first touchdown. But Cade ran for 85 yards on 12 carries in the first half, and he was not able to come back because of the concussion protocol. And so they played without him in the second half. Now,
I
don't know whether to give Bloom Carroll credit for figuring out how to stop the run or it was just not having Cade, maybe a combination of the two. But we didn't move the ball very well in the second half. And so the whole second half, Bloom Carroll was moving the ball a little bit, but Jackson defense is coming up with big plays to stop them and stop the threat. Bloom Carroll got the ball for one last time at the 12-yard line, I believe it was, with about 3 minutes and 35 seconds to go. That's a long way to go. They did have their timeouts. They were able to get the ball down to the Jackson 24-yard line with with about a minute and a half to play, a little bit over a minute and a half, and they got to 4th down and 7. The Bloom Carroll coach had a big decision to make. He's got a kicker that's like Ethan Crabtree. He can kick long field goals. He could have tried to kick a 41-yard field goal, or about a 41-yard field goal. If it was good, no guarantee you kick one from that long, it would have been 10-10. Or he can gamble and try to go for the 1st down or more on 4th and 7.
Yeah.
I don't know what the best percentage play is. Probably the field goal if the kicker is really good.
Yeah.
But he went for it on 4th and 7 after, only gaining 3 yards on 3 plays. And unfortunately, the guy caught the ball inside the 5-yard line and just over the fingertips of a Jackson defender. And Cornelius is the boy's name. He was able to go in for the touchdown. They kicked the extra point, 14-10, 1 minute and 33 seconds to go. Jackson.
That'll deflate you quick, won't it?
Right. I believe Jackson did not have all of its timeouts. They were in a desperation mode, and Jackson had been able to complete some passes, but they hadn't been able to get big passes, and they hadn't been able to get any big runs since Cade was out. They were able to move the ball into Bloom Carroll territory when they were finally stopped. As almost as time was running out. I think Bloom Carroll had to kneel one time to end the thing. But it ends up 14-10. So the Ironmen lose a heartbreaker. The last touchdown scored with 1:33 to go by the Bloom Carroll Bulldogs. The Ironmen finish with a 10-2 record, Frontier Athletic Conference champions, and they have the consolation of knowing that they probably had a better season than some people expected. Jackson has had outstanding football under Coach Hall, and even before that, for a long time, people expect it, but it doesn't just happen. It's a lot of things at play, which, Coach Hall talked about on Friday when we had the interview. A lot of things happen, support from the community, the hard work of the kids, how hard everybody works through the program, not just at the varsity level, but all the way down to the peewee and like that. By the way, the 3rd and 4th grade red team won the Super Bowl.
Oh, right.
So that's other football news from the weekend. So congratulations to them. Our peewee teams usually do very well.
Yes.
But anyway, and the 7th grade team did not lose a game this year. That's kind of like an aside.
Just to let you know.
Right. But the varsity team finishes 10-2. They have quite a few kids back from last year. One who will not come back is Cade. He is a senior, and he was the most valuable player. The player of the year is what they call it in the Frontier Athletic Conference, and he is going to Kent State. There's another close-up of Cade there, and this was during the I believe that's the Greenfield game when that was right there, that picture there. But he ended up rushing, and that is from the ball game on Friday night. That is the celebration of several Jackson players when Bodie scored Jackson's only touchdown. So, a great season. We got to keep things in perspective. Team did a great job. They played a team in Bloom Carroll who has been the regional champion 3 years in a row. And I know that the Columbus area sports writers for the Dispatch, they're not all from the Dispatch, but they do a fun little thing that gets posted where they predict Central Ohio playoff games. 9 out of 10 of those writers picked Bloom Carroll to beat Jackson.
Yeah.
So even though Jackson was 4th seed and Bloom Carroll was 5th seed, they were thinking that Bloom Carroll, based, I'm sure, on what they've done in past years, would win. And, obviously it was very close that they did win, but they did. So give them credit. They were able to, if you look at it from the other side, they were able to drive 88 yards in about 2 minutes to be able to get the game-winning touchdown. And, I'm saying that it's a matter of inches on whether the Jackson defender knocks that ball down. And then, of course, the boy's got to be able to catch the ball and get in the end zone, and he did, unfortunately.
Yeah, and, sometimes just losing a player like Cade out of the game just really does kind of deflate you, and it's hard to overcome that because you're worried about your teammate. You don't know what happened to him, and he's not going to be back in the game. So that's kind of in your mind too. And, Bloom Carroll has the experience.
Right. They are a playoff tested team, considering, what's happened with them in past years. And they have another very good team. They're going to be in the regional semifinals now against Columbus Bishop Watterson.
Okay.
And the other semifinal, Bell Fountain upset London, who was previously undefeated.
Oh.
And Bell Fountain's quarterback is an Ohio State University commit.
Okay.
So, I'm sure he must have had a very good game there through Bell Fountain. Bell Fountain will be playing Granville, who is undefeated in the other semifinal game. And by the way, Jackson's Alumni Stadium has been a venue for playoff games in the past.
Yes.
Of course, Jackson got to host 2 playoff games. But after you get to the semifinals in each region, it's a neutral site. And there was, I know that Jackson High School had requested or made itself available to host a playoff game. We thought that might happen, but it will not happen. There will be no playoff game at Jackson High School this weekend. One that could have been there based on geography, Harvest Prep, which is a football academy type school out of Canal Winchester, is playing Ironton for the region in a Region 5 in a Division 5 Region 19 semifinal game. Well, look at where Ironton is. Look at Canal Winchester. What's kind of in between? Well, Jackson is in between, but so is Athens, and the OHSA chose to have the game in Athens at Joe Burrow Stadium.
Okay.
So no playoff game at Jackson. I suppose it might be possible next week, particularly if somebody like Ironton or Wheelersburg, who are still in the tournament, win because they're down on the river and they're bound to be playing somebody up
north,
towards Columbus. So we will see what happens there. But once again, congratulations to the Ironmen for just, a tremendous season, Coach Hall and all the players. And we do understand that Cade is doing okay, but when you get that hit on the head, even though there may not be other injury where you're limping or anything, that's a serious thing.
It's not good.
They ask you questions and whatever. And sometimes, you're out a week or so.
Yeah.
But there was no way he could have come back and played. That was disappointing, but.
Well, listen, it is, but at the end of the day, these are still young men and they're still growing and their safety comes way before anything else.
Right. Well, that's, I guess the simplest way you can say it is that's football.
Yeah.
There's injuries that involved in there. 3 different times a Bloom Carroll player was down on the turf, and 3 different times it was one of their top players, but each time that player was able to go off and come back.
Okay.
So they were able to play with all their great players. But the Ironmen did a great job. They held Bloom Carroll's rushing to only 56 yards on 25 carries. And Dylan Armentrout is going to the United States Military Academy as a football player. They held him in check, but unfortunately, on the passing side, they completed 20 of 36 passes for 239 yards. They got it going in the passing game, and that was what allowed them to be able to end up winning the football game. All right, we'll stay with sports and another type of celebration worth noting. Of course, you had Samuel Boyd here on TV on Thursday. Well, he went up to the Division II state meet in cross country, and he did very well. Now, he's a junior. He'll have another year. But he finished, there were 182 runners, and he finished 58th. There's Samuel Boyd.
Way
that
to
picture,
go,
That picture,
Sam.
I think, was from the regional the week before at Pickerington. But we wanted to show his happy face there. I'm sure he had to be happy. 58th out of 182 runners. That's in the upper third.
Yeah.
So now this was the Viking team was not there. It was just him. You can qualify as a team or you can qualify as an individual in cross country. And he qualified as an individual. The team went to the regional, and he qualified from the regional into the state.
That is so cool.
And in his season, he's, of course, coached by Josh Kirkpatrick. But all he did was he was the first Vinton County runner to go to the state cross-country meet since 1982. Long time ago.
A few years ago.
Tim Coleman did that. And I can tell you the Vinton County High School cross-country program, boys and girls, is excellent. But he is the first one to qualify as an individual since 1982. He was the Tri-Valley Conference Ohio Division individual champion. He led his team to the team championship. He broke the school's 5K record, and he was also the individual meet champion in the Vinton County Invitational and the Fisher Catholic Early Bird Invitational. So congratulations to Samuel Boyd.
You go, buddy.
All right. Okay. Well, we've got an election coming up tomorrow.
Oh, it is tomorrow. Yes.
It is tomorrow. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. If you wanted to vote early, it's too late.
Tough tootie.
The last time for early voting, and they started on October 11th, which is about a month before the election, a little less than a month, and it ended on Sunday. You could vote early on Saturday and Sunday, as a matter of fact, and into the evening on Friday at any Board of Elections offices in all 88 counties, including Jackson and Vinton. I actually voted yesterday, mid-afternoon, and Margaret Casey, who is the elections director here in Jackson County, she told me that my timing was superb because by just 5 or 10 minutes, I missed a line that was out the door.
Oh, you're kidding.
Right.
Wow.
And she said there was a bigger turnout on Sunday than on Saturday. Maybe, people have other things to do on Saturday, or maybe Sunday is the very last time and you got to do it if you're going to vote
Could have
early.
something to do with a Buckeyes game, too.
Well, yes, that's right. The Buckeyes game going on Saturday during the day, taking up most of the afternoon. And I believe the early voting hours was 8 to 4 on Saturday. It was 1 to 5 on Sunday. But when I was there and Pam was there voting, I was just under the 2,500 person to vote early.
Wow.
That's early voting only. That's not absentee.
Yikes.
Margaret told me there was about 500 absentee ballots that had been returned. Now, there's more than that probably still out. So you're talking between the two, and this was not quite before it ended, 3,000 early votes. So, that's pretty good.
That's quite a bit.
I mean, every election, it seems like more people were voting early than they did before. But there's 20,000 registered voters in Jackson County. So if you extrapolate that, is that a good word?
Yes.
If you extrapolate that.
Sounds real professional.
Okay, and there's 3,000 people that are going to vote early, and it was probably going to be more than that. And in the past, up to 30% voted early. There's 20,000 registered voters plus in Jackson County. It's over 20,000, I think. You can figure out that if it's at the same rate, about 9,000 people may vote in this election. Now, I don't know whether it'll get to that or not, but if it does, because, if early voting is about 1/3 of it, so say 6,000 for same-day voting, that would be a turnout of close to 50%.
Close to 50%,
right?
yeah.
And I know,
and that doesn't happen anymore.
I know that if you're coming in from Mars or the moon or some other world, and you're saying half your people or less your half people vote, that's good. Well, it's really not, but based on the turnouts that we've had in the past,
we've had some that are 5%,
right,
and
right. Right, and when you consider that not everybody is registered, even, but
you wonder.
You have the opportunity.
What's getting people in there to vote? My guess is these school board races, but I don't know for sure.
I think, of course, it's hard to say because we're not like the big networks, so we don't do exit polling.
That's right.
And we don't.
We could.
And we don't get on the phone to call ahead of time and have somebody, hang up on you before you get the question out. But I'm thinking that issue 1 is big.
Yeah.
That is the reproductive rights
amendment.
Proposed amendment that has to do with abortion and other reproductive issues. Issue 2, you haven't heard quite as much about it, but that's the recreational marijuana thing. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But then you add up all the local things, and really, even though there is a ton on local ballots, there's not a lot of contests. There's some contests at the township level for township trustees and fiscal officers. Not a lot. There are several countywide levies in both Jackson and Vinton counties. On the municipal side, the only contested races are in the village of Oak Hill and the city of Wellston. And it's not much. It's just like 1 or 2. And in Vinton County, the only contested races on the candidate side are in the village of Hamden. So we'll go over that. So really, there's a lot of names and offices that are on the line, but there isn't a lot of candidates that have come out.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things in this year's election is that we have more write-in candidates than we've had before. Now, what happens on a write-in thing, if you're unfamiliar with it, you wonder how that works. Well, when it gets to that office where there's a write-in candidate, there will be a blank, but there'll be a blank where, you got to know to write the name.
Right.
I talked with Margaret Casey yesterday. You've got to request it, but they will give you the name of that write-in candidate
Okay.
to write in. But if you don't know the name of the write-in candidate and you don't ask, you won't know to fill that in. You won't know. You may see that there's a blank there, but you won't know what name to put in.
Gotcha.
But there's a number of write-in candidates this year, more than I've ever seen on a local ballot before, because we had a number of candidates who were not certified. Their petitions were not certified or
Yes.
approved by the Board of Elections back in August because of defects. And so what happened was, where maybe somebody who was running for a certain position, let's say a township trustee, they were the only one running and they weren't, they got tossed out. And they can't run as a write-in candidate because, you're one and done.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, if you have a defect, if you are a filed candidate and your petition is rejected, you can't run as a write-in or an independent or anything like that. So what you had people, oh, okay, that seat's open, I'll run, but you got to run as a write-in. That's your only option. So that's why we have it. We have one township where it's all write-in candidates, and I think there's 3 of them. So maybe I'll go over that here in just a minute. But 2 things. One other basic thing I want to tell you is you got to know where to vote. And there's been a lot of changes in both counties. The polls will be open from 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And here is where they are. This is the second election, but the first election for many Vinton County voters where the polls have changed because of consolidation.
Yes.
They were in effect for the special election, and that was countywide because of the state amendment. But of course, you didn't have the turnout then that you will in a general election. So for you folks in Vinton County, this is where the consolidated polling locations are. One is at the MacArthur Community Building, and that's for voters in Elk Township, Brown Township, and Swan Township. So that's people from outside MacArthur coming in to vote at the MacArthur Community Building.
Okay.
MacArthur Fire Station 2 is for voters in Richland, in Richland Northwest, Richland Southeast, and Jackson Township. Now, MacArthur Fire Station 2 is not in MacArthur. It's the MacArthur Fire Department Fire Station, but it's out on Route 50 East. So don't be confused by MacArthur Fire Station 2.
Okay.
They have a fire station that's out on US Route 50
East.
West. I'm sorry.
West.
Towards
toward the high school.
Chillicothe.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, out past the high school. And that's for voters in Richland Northwest, Richland Southeast, and Jackson Townships. The MacArthur Fire Hall is in the village of MacArthur.
Okay.
And that's for voters in MacArthur East, MacArthur Northwest, MacArthur Southwest, Knox Township, Zaleski, and Madison Township. So you folks who live in the northeastern part of the county, pay attention there. You're going to be driving in from Knox Township, Zaleski, Madison Township, up there around Lake Hope, all the way into MacArthur to vote. That is your new polling location in MacArthur. Harrison Township Fire Department, which is out on 50, that is for voters in Harrison Township and Eagle Township, and that is farther out on 50 on the west side towards Chillicothe. The Hamden Community Building is for voters in Hamden North, Hamden South, so that's the whole village, Clinton Township, which is the township around Hamden, Vinton Township, which is down around Wilkesville, Wilkesville Corporation, and Wilkesville Township. So for you voters who live in the southeastern portion of Vinton County, instead of voting in your own township or in Wilkesville, now you got to travel to Hamden.
Okay.
And remember, we did have some folks from Wilkesville, officials and residents, who went to a county commissioners meeting to protest the fact that the polling locations had been consolidated.
Yeah.
But of course, the same thing happened here in Jackson County a couple years before.
Yep.
And, there were some complaints then. And remember, the reason that the Vinton County Board of Elections made the changes were, this was what was said at the time that they were made, issues with security, being ADA compliant, handicap accessibility, communication with poll workers at the former polling locations. Some polling locations did not have ADA compliant entrance or parking, and there was no cell phone service. So
yeah, all that's kind of important, Pete.
Right. For, when you're, talking with the Board of Elections
Yeah.
people in MacArthur if there's issues while voting is taking place or immediately after even. So the way I talked with, I had communications with the Vinton County Elections Director, and those polling places, those consolidated polling places, I think are here to stay. They were decided on by the Board of Elections for these reasons that we talked about last summer, and they went into effect for the special election. They thought that was an excellent time, even though there wasn't a lot of notice, to put them into effect because it was a smaller election and
listen,
it was countywide.
None of us like change, but at the end of the day, we'll get used to it.
Right,
So-
exactly. Now, in Jackson County, this will be, I'm not sure how many elections this is, but it's still fairly new. Polling locations in the Jackson City School District and the Wellston City School District. Now, if you live in the Jackson City School District or the Wellston City School District, you vote at Jackson High School in the Jackson School District and at Wellston High School in the Wellston School District.
Or if you want to get really confusing, I'm in the Oak Hill School District, but now vote at the Jackson High School.
Right. How is that?
I don't know.
It's the township you live in. What township do you live in?
Franklin.
Okay, well, Franklin votes in Jackson. So,
But it's the Oak Hill technically school district.
Right.
So
yeah, well, see,
just check out. Check it out.
It just happens that the school buildings are the venues, but the precincts are determined by the jurisdictions like city, village, and township. So that's why you're kind of in a crazy situation.
Yeah,
there.
I'm in a weird situation.
Right. But anyway, if you live in the city of Jackson, or you live in a township that is in the Jackson City School District, you will be voting at the Jackson High School Fieldhouse.
Yep.
If you live in the city of Wellston, or you live in a township that is in the Wellston City School District, you will vote at Wellston High School. You will vote at the Wellston High School gymnasium. Now, that is not the case in the Oak Hill School District. In the Oak Hill School District, the elections officials in Jackson County have asked the Oak Hill School Board and Oak Hill school officials to consider allowing one of their schools, either the Oak Hill High School or the Oak Hill Elementary School, to be a polling location. Oak Hill has not said no, but they've not said yes either. I don't know whether it's a closed issue or it's still fluid or it may happen. But as of right now, the old polling places are still in effect, and even they were consolidated several years ago. If you live in the Oak Hill School District, the place that everybody votes if you live in the Oak Hill School District is the Madison Jefferson Bingo Hall. Before, you could vote in Hamilton Township, you could vote in Bloomfield Township,
Yeah, it was pretty
you could
spread
vote
out there.
in the village of Oak Hill. But now, everybody in the Oak Hill School District votes at the Madison Jefferson Bingo Hall. And this would include Village of Oak Hill voters, Jefferson Township voters, Madison Township voters, Bloomfield Township voters, and Hamilton Township voters. So we have 3 polling places basically in all of Jackson County.
Yep.
And in Oak Hill, it's not one of the schools. It is the Madison Jefferson Bingo Hall located on East Main Street in Oak Hill.
I went up the last election and voted at the high school, here in Jackson. I thought it was very actually convenient. Parking's close. You go in and everybody's in there. So you just say, I'm Franklin or I'm whatever. And they're like, your table's over there. And then you go and to your prospective, precinct and vote. I thought it was very well run.
Right. I have voted early the last several years, so I have not done that. But I do understand that it went pretty good. It's going to be a bigger polling places because the individual precincts are still in there with their own table or whatever.
Yeah, so they just point you to your table.
It's just in one big room there.
Yeah.
And you really shouldn't have to worry about lines because, when you go in, everybody doesn't go to the same place. They go, like you say, to their precinct.
Yeah, you check in, they find you in the book, and then they send you to your table. So super easy.
Right, exactly. So, locally, we said that there was not very many races on the municipal side. We'll tell you where there are. If you live in the city of Jackson, most city positions in Jackson City government are on the line, including the mayor, Randy Evans, but there are no contests at all.
Okay.
No contests at all. And one of the write-in candidates is in Jackson. That is Pete Bopp. He is the 4th Ward councilman, and he is the only candidate. So all he needs is one vote.
Just needs to write himself in.
Right. In the city of Wellston, we have one contested race, and it's for city auditor. That's for that is between John C. Dupree, who is a former Wellston city auditor, who was elected one time, and then another time he was not elected. Well, he's running again, and he goes by Chris, but on the ballot it's John C. Dupree.
Okay.
He's the Republican, and Kathy Helm is the independent candidate. Alicia Beatty had been the city auditor, and she is not running for re-election, and she stepped down actually before the end of her term. And David McWilliams, who is a former Wellston city auditor, is serving as interim city auditor in the city of Wellston. And for the other positions in Wellston, including Wellston mayor, where Anthony Brenner is the current mayor, of course, appointed to replace Charlie Hudson. He was nominated in the May primary over Tom Clark, and there is no other candidate, independent or write-in, for mayor.
Okay.
So that is the only contest city auditor in Wellston. In Oak Hill, we do have a mayor's race in Oak Hill.
Ooh.
Incumbent Paul McNeil, and these are nonpartisan. There's not Republicans and Democrats. Everything's nonpartisan at the village level in the state of Ohio. Paul McNeil is running against former Oak Hill Village Councilwoman Tara Cooper. There's also a couple of council seats on the ballot. However, no other contest in the village of Oak Hill. In the village of Colton, Kim Milliken has been the mayor of Colton. This is her 3rd term. She is not running for re-election. And there is nobody, there is only one candidate to replace her, and it's a write-in candidate. It happens to be her husband, James Milliken, who we better know as Jim.
Yes.
Jim has been on village council for some time. He served as council president before, and I think that he was willing to run as a write-in candidate when it was seen that there was no other candidates coming forth.
Yeah.
So Kim, who is now the chairman of the Jackson County Board of Elections, is a Democratic appointee. She can't do both, and she was, I think, going to step away as mayor anyway after this term. They're finishing a big sanitary sewer project there. She wanted to see that through. But anyway, she is not running again, but her husband will be elected as a write-in candidate, provided that he's willing to vote for himself and somebody else might. And
maybe Kim will.
And here's
too.
another problem in Colton. They always have trouble keeping all of the council seats full.
Yes.
It seems like that's a problem at a lot of the municipalities in Jackson County. There isn't a lot of interest as far as multiple people wanting to run for council.
Yeah, because it's a thankless job.
Right, it's a thankless job, and it's not for the pay either. But on the village council, there's 2 councilmen to be elected this year, and nobody is running in the village of Colton. So that's going to end up being appointees by either council or the mayor at some point. All right, in Vinton County, in the village of MacArthur, no contest. Steve Hammond, who is the current mayor, is unopposed, and so are other candidates for council. In the village of Wilkesville, no contest. Mayor Matthew Smith will be elected without opposition. No contest in the village of Zaleski. Mayor Tosa Brome will be elected without opposition. However, in the village of Hamden, there's things going on where there is people interested. I don't think they always agree on everything. I can tell that by candidate profiles I got back that we had publicized in our paper. There is a 3-way race for Hamden mayor.
Ooh-wee.
Charles Chuck Boyer, who was appointed to fill the unexpired term when Terry Wiseman resigned as Hamden mayor in the middle of his term. He was elected 4 years ago. Charles Boyer on the ballot is running for a full term this time. But he is opposed by the current village fiscal officer, Lindley Holzapple, and the current council president, Mike Neary.
Oh,
so there's a three-way race for Hamden mayor. There on the Hamden council, there's 2 open seats and 4 candidates. So there's interest there as well. The candidates are Casey Brown, Frank Hollingshead, Merrill Henry Sayers, and Vicki Annette Wiseman.
Okay.
So 4 candidates for the 2 seats on Hamden Village Council. So that's the municipal side. Okay, on the levy side, there are a number of levies that are on the ballot in both Jackson and Benton counties. For the most part, the levies are on the countywide side, not the township side.
Okay.
On the township side, you're not seeing as many ballot issues. I think for a very simple reason. There's township people that are running for office. And they may not want to request a tax issue at the same time they're trying to get elected as a township trustee.
Makes sense.
Right. So, but anyway, on the levy side, get my sheet out here. On the levy side, there are some countywide levies in Jackson County. I'll just do the countywide levies. You got the senior citizens levy, which is just $500,000, and that is a renewal. That means it's going to be the same level of taxation, even though real estate values are going up, and that's going to make the tax valuations go up. It will be based on the old tax valuations when the levy was first put on. There is an EMS levy that is a $1 mill levy in Jackson County. That is a replacement levy.
Oh.
Now, the millage is the same, but that will reflect the higher tax values that will be going into effect next year. So that'll be more money coming in. There's also a aggregation issue on the ballot.
Yes.
And the only people voting on that are the people in the townships. It does not affect, at least right now, the people in the municipalities.
Mm-hmm.
But the aggregation, of course, we had Mr. Philip Dysart here on TV, but trying to really boil it down to the simplest terms, aggregation would allow a municipality, county, or township. In this case, it's going to be unincorporated areas of the county to go into an aggregation where they go together to get a better rate, theoretically at least, for electric and for natural gas.
Yes.
And this has been done in lots of other places.
Yep.
But it has to be approved at the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
If it is approved at the ballot, I'm not sure how long the process will take, but it will be negotiated a natural gas rate and an electric rate for all the people in those townships, unless you choose to opt out. If you don't want to be part of it and you want to be charged whatever the utility would charge you, electric or utility, or you have some third party thing set up already, and you wouldn't be part of this. But if you opt out, you can stay doing exactly what you want, but you have to opt out. This puts you in whether you want in or not. And I need to emphasize this. Let's say that you vote no on aggregation. Well, you're in if it passes because the majority wanted it.
Yep.
So you've got to opt out. But
you have to physically decide.
You'll receive notification paperwork or something to opt out. So that's the aggregation issue that is on the ballot. That is a biggie. In the village of Colton, there is additional levies for police protection and for current expenses. In the city of Jackson, there's no levies, but there is what they call a liquor option. It is in Ward 4, that is on the west side of town, and it involves Handy Mart. If the option passes, Handy Mart will be able to sell wine, mixed beverage, and spirituous liquor on Sunday. Mm-hmm. They can do it the other days, but this will allow them to do it on Sunday as well. All right. In the city of Wellston, there is a levy for recreation, a recreation levy. Remember, there's been several town hall meetings on this. We had Mayor Anthony Brenner talk about it. I believe he did talk about it, didn't he, when he was here last week?
Yeah, he did.
But anyway, it is a levy that would pay for the construction and operation of a pool, but a lot more. It would help pay to operate and maintain some of the other recreational things that they want to be able to do, that they hope to be able to do, especially if they get some other grant money from the state. I know that they're building a campground there and all like that, and this would help pay the recreation things as well as a new pool, the construction of a new pool. All right. Also, in the village of MacArthur, there's a number of levies there. There's a 2.5 mil renewal levy for the police department. There is a 1 mil replacement levy for fire protection. There is a 1 mil renewal levy for cemeteries, and that is MacArthur and Elk Township both. And in Elk Township, not including MacArthur, there is a 1 mil renewal levy for street work. In the village of Zaleski, there is a 5 mil renewal levy for current expenses. All right, and then in the city of Wellston, in addition to the recreation levy, there is a renewal levy of 2 mils for street work in Wellston. That is just a renewal levy. The levy for the pool and recreation is a 5 mil levy, and it would go through a continuing period of time, which means, voters should know this straight up. If it's passed, it's on there until they would vote to take it off. They would have to vote to take it off. It's not one of those ones that you vote on again in 5 years or 3 years or 10 years. All right, in Oak Hill, there are 4 levies in Oak Hill, and they always seem to pass these levies in Oak Hill with no trouble. They trust the village fathers. But there's 4 levies on that ballot in Oak Hill, and they're all renewals. One's for street lighting, one is for current expenses, one is for cemetery operation and maintenance, and one is for parks and recreation. Okay. The parks and recreation one, I know they feel that is a necessity to continue to operate the Margaret Ann Pool. All right, on the township side, we'll touch on that real quickly. There's so much on this ballot, but in Jackson County and Benton County, in each township, there is a fiscal officer. The fiscal officer is on the ballot. That's like the treasurer. They used to call it the treasurer, but they used to call it the clerk treasurer, but now it's called the fiscal officer.
Gotcha.
And there are 3 trustees. One of the trustee spots is on the ballot this year in all the townships. The other 2 trustees are on the ballot 2 years from now. It's odd numbered years, but it's staggered. Okay. All right. And in the Bloomfield Township, here is a perfect example of what I said about the write-in candidate. There was the incumbent trustee in Bloomfield Township had his petition invalidated, his candidate petition. As a result, Edgar Conger and Ryan Irwin are both running, and they're both write-in candidates. Okay. So you go to the ballot, and you see the ballot in Bloomfield Township, and you have a couple of write-in candidates with no names. So you got to know who you're voting for. You got to ask. Okay. All right. There's also a contest for trustee in Cole Township. Glenn Arlitten and Timothy Wheatley, both of their names are on the ballot. In Hamilton Township, this is the one where there's the most interest. 4 people are running for trustee in Hamilton Township: Daniel Evans, Gerald Fulkerson, Jeremy Mullet, and Dakota Moore. 2-way race for trustee in Jackson Township between Lindita Dilley and Joseph L. Tanner. There is a 2-way race for trustee in Jefferson Township: Harold E. Atkins Jr. and Daniel Parker. There is a 2-way race for fiscal officer also in Jefferson Township: Kenneth E. Atkins and Jim Sloan. In Lick Township, there is a 3-way race for trustee, and they're all write-in candidates: Andrew Bobo, Stephen Gillen, and Travis Hughes. In Scioto Township, there's a 3-way race for trustee: Brian Durham, Aaron Lemaster, and Mac Taylor Jr. In fiscal officer, there is a 2-way race, write-in candidates both: Judy Kiefer and Michelle Moon. And in Washington Township, there's a 2-way race for fiscal officer: Alicia Atkins Jr. and Jonna Bates. Both of their names are on the ballot. In Benton County, most of the races are uncontested. In Elk Township, there's a 2-way race trustee between Roy Robinette and Audra Wright. In Knox Township, there's a 2-way race for fiscal officer between Kimberly Gates and Terry Hall. In Richland Township, there's a 2-way race for trustee: Glendon Lowe and Curtis Reinhardt. And that's the contested races in Benton County. And I don't think there's very many write-in candidates at all in Benton County, so they don't have to navigate that. Okay, I wanted to say something about issue 2 real quick, because we've heard so much about issue 1.
Yeah, you haven't heard squat about issue 2.
Okay, I'm just going to tell you, this was an AP article that I think is supposed to be down the middle on supporters and opposers. Okay. All right, but what this would do is this would legalize recreational marijuana in the state of Ohio. Some other states have done it. It's something that's kind of been a gradual process over the last 5 years, and now many states do have it.
Yeah.
We have medical marijuana now in Ohio that's legal, but not recreational marijuana. Supporters of the legislation say Ohio can reclaim tax revenue that is being lost to states such as Michigan, where marijuana is legal, and take power away from the illegal drug markets by making it legal. It would also be regulated by the government. That's better than it being illegal. However, opponents warn of increased workforce and traffic accidents because people are token by people who are under the influence. And they argue that much of the revenue will land in the pocket of the marijuana industry, not taxpayers. Now, it's just like everything else. The state's going to regulate this, and they're going to have their hand in the till.
Which is why we already have medicinal. Let's just be honest.
Right. Issue 2 on the November 7th ballot specifically would allow adults 21 and over, not 18, said 21. I didn't know that.
I was wondering that too.
To buy and possess up to 2.5 ounces, which is 71 grams of cannabis, marijuana, and 15 grams, about a half ounce of extract, and to grow up to 6 plants per individual through a government program. The government will let you do it under their rules. A 10% tax would be imposed on any purchases. There's the state getting its money, with those proceeds going towards administrative costs and addiction treatment in the state to municipalities that host dispensaries. It would also create a social equity program to give a financial boost to people who want to start a business selling or growing cannabis and who meet certain criteria. They or a family member would need to have had a past run-in with the law for marijuana and be part of a disadvantaged group based on race, gender, disability, or economic considerations. The measure, according to opponents, gives around 1/3 of the revenue in that 10% tax back to the marijuana industry, making it more of a benefit to marijuana corporations and small businesses than to taxpayers. The Ohio Prosecuting Attorneys Association, I think this is worth noting, has come out against issue 2. They say that legalization could lead to greater traffic and workforce accidents, as well as increased substance abuse among state residents. And Jennifer, once again, I'm not going to try to take a side in this, but this is what I've always heard. On one side, I hear it's just marijuana. Let people alone, let them have it. It's not addictive. And then I hear on the other side that it is the stair-step drug to the drugs that are illegal and dangerous. So I don't know. Are you going to expose yourself on this issue?
Well, these are just things that are popping around in my brain right now. I think basically if you're going to use it, you're using it anyway. So for them to come out and say something like it's going to cause more accidents or it's going to cause more workplace, whatever.
In other words, it's getting used anyway.
Yeah. I mean, let's just be honest. It's not real hard to find. So that argument doesn't really roll around with me very well. But on the other side of the coin, I get some of the other things. I think, is it a stair-step drug for some people? Yes, I think. And other people, I think, no. I think it's just how your body's made up. There's people with addictive personalities and there's people that aren't.
I don't know whether this is a good comparison or not, or a good analogy. It's like alcohol. You can abuse alcohol, and alcohol can be just fine if you don't abuse it.
Correct. So it's just, it's kind of one and the same. I guess I could, my old thought is last time I haven't heard of a guy, smoking a joint and beating up his wife, alcohol or some of the other, pills. And here I am owning a brewery. So I'm just saying that. But I just feel like, I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see. I don't think that our state's ready for recreational marijuana yet. I don't think it will be voted in. I think that's my prediction.
Right. I think if I had to guess, and I have seen a couple polls, I think that probably issue 1 has a good chance of passing. Issue 2 probably will not, but we will see.
That would be my guess. Now, okay, do you have the info on issue 1?
I don't have it with me.
So just if you vote yes, what does it mean? And if you vote no, in a nutshell,
That's a very
what does it mean?
that's a very good question.
Because all you keep seeing is signs: vote yes, vote no, vote yes, vote no. But what does that mean? I don't know.
Well,
I figure I'll read it when I get
all I
there.
can say on that, maybe I should have educated myself a lot better. I've heard contradictory, conflicting things from both sides.
Okay.
And maybe one side is completely right and the other side's
No,
completely, but
they're all full of it.
saying different they're saying different things on what it is instead of just arguing about the merits. They say, well, this will do this, and oh no, it won't do this. It'll do this.
Okay.
Or it won't do this. I mean, I'm hearing different things.
So if you vote yes, though, you're voting for more reproductive rights for
right overall, and the big issue in the reproductive rights
it's
abortion.
about abortion.
It's abortion.
Yeah.
It's abortion. I think the reproductive rights is euphemistic.
Well, there's a lot that goes along with it, but at the end of the day, people understand abortion and they understand that. You get into fertility, you get into the safety of mothers and all of these side issues.
It just makes me think that when they frame it as reproductive rights rather than abortion, and I know it's more than about abortion. It makes me think that they're trying to imply that the government is telling you whether you can have sex or not.
Well, there's some government people that have. That actually happened. And what state was that? Where the dude was like, basically, you just shouldn't have sex then.
I don't know. Well,
it was out west somewhere. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Try telling people that.
but I think that issue one, is fueling a lot of the interest.
Yeah.
And,
people are very passionate about it one way or the other.
Right. I have my cell phone blowing up with suggestions on how to vote on that.
Do you?
Right.
From like different groups and things?
Right. I'm not on any committee or anything. I'm not a card-carrying political person at all, and I'm getting lobbied pretty heavily.
It's funny. I have yet to ever receive a text message about an election thing.
No, I'm getting them.
Knock on wood.
All right. Well, a couple other things that are going on.
Just read when you get there. That's the thing. I mean, you can take the time and read this stuff.
Right. I will tell you from being there yesterday, the language is there.
Yeah.
And it's an important vote.
Decide for yourself.
So take the time to read it. Or if you haven't voted yet, try to educate yourself. Yep. Get online and look for all the information you can and try to get it from both sides and then make a decision that is right for you.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So some other things going on this week. Saturday, November 11th, is Veterans Day.
Okay.
All right. And so, it is a federal holiday. And I have been able to confirm that the two Veterans Day ceremonies that are, the biggies in Jackson and Vinton counties, Jackson County, they have one at Veterans Memorial Park there. And in Vinton County, they have one in front of the courthouse. It is going to be on the 11th, which is a Saturday. It falls on Saturday this year. And it'll be at the regular times, 11 a.m. in Jackson.
Okay.
And 10:40 and heading into 11 at the Vinton County Courthouse. The Wellston National Honor Society is going to have their big Veterans Day Assembly, is what they call it, at Wellston High School. And because it needs to be on a school day, it's going to be on Friday,
okay,
November the 10th at 9 a.m. in the Wellston High School auditorium. They're going to serve a complimentary breakfast in the school cafeteria before the assembly. The assembly is actually at 9:30. The breakfast is at 9. But they want veterans to come. It's open to the community, but they really want the veterans to come.
Yeah.
This is always a great program that they have there with that assembly. The kids do it. The National Honor Society is in charge of it. And it is very much not a school thing, just a school thing. It's a community thing. They always honor some veterans, and they work very hard to try to get the veterans to come as their special guests. All right, so that's the Veterans Day stuff. We'll be, of course, following that. Jim Satori will be the speaker at the Vinton County Veterans Day ceremony. I don't know about Jackson yet. We'll be learning about that. Jackson Food Program and Clothesline Director Nancy Baisden announced late last week that the Jackson Food Program will be doing the take-home Thanksgiving meal again.
Okay.
Remember, they always did the congregate meal up
Yeah.
at the high school, and then COVID came along.
Yep.
And so they got back and did the take-home Thanksgiving meal, which is the next best thing, because
Sure.
they give you basically the contents of a full meal.
Yeah.
And so how they're doing it is you have to sign up for it in advance, and that has already started. You have certain days that you can call the food program or show up there when it's open and register. I'm not sure how many meals there are, but there is a limit. And when they have hit that limit, they're gone. All
Right.
right. But the next sign up period is actually going on today at 10 a.m. As a matter of fact, you can call over there and until 1:30 p.m. You can call tomorrow from 2 to 4:30 p.m. You can call or show up Thursday from 2 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. This is the Jackson Food Program. Remember, they're down on East Broadway Street now. East Broadway Street at, I don't have the full address here. Yes, I don't have the full address here, but it is on East Broadway Street past Jamestown Market.
Yeah.
They're on the right. But anyway, after you have signed up, and you can only sign up one meal per one address, all right? Those ordering meals can pick them up on Monday, November 20th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Christ Church of Jackson, and that's the Family
Okay.
Life Center. Recipients should bring proof of identification, their current mail to show that that is their address, and this 3-hour period will be the only pickup time for the meals. No meals will be available through pickup time after that. But
So they're not doing the community Thanksgiving anymore.
no,
Like at the high school or where.
right. I don't know whether that will come back or
Okay.
not. But there was, I think there was the COVID, the congregate problem for a while. Then I think there was, to a degree, a volunteer
Yeah.
problem, because it's a much bigger deal when you have to do a sit down type
Yeah.
meal. And I think they were doing delivery and everything then too. So it was a huge thing. They needed a lot of volunteers to make that happen. So anyway, what else do we want to tell you about? There will be we want to tell you that our paper on Saturday, November 11th, it's going to be dated Saturday, November 11th. But because of the holiday, remember that's a federal holiday.
Yeah.
We depend on, the U.S. mail to get our paper out to our subscribers.
Oh.
We're going to have to put it out. We either have two choices. We can put it out on Saturday, and you won't get it until Monday in the mail because
Okay.
the mail won't run Saturday.
Right.
Or we can put it out a day early. Well, we chose the day early
Okay.
because we don't want the news to be late. The news will be ahead of time. It'll be 24 hours ahead of time. You can get it on the newsstand Friday. You'll get it in the mail on Friday. We'll have to get it ready a day early. So we're kind of pushed here in the news department to get that ready. But that's what we're going to do. That means that if you've got advertising for the paper, you've got an editorial submission, you just need to get it to us earlier. I would say we need it by Wednesday. We need by Wednesday no later than 3 p.m. for editorial things. The deadline for obituaries will be 2 p.m. on Thursday instead of 2 p.m. on Friday. And also, display legal and classified advertising must be submitted by 10 a.m. on Wednesday.
Okay.
Wednesday, November the 8th for the November 11th paper. So we're sorry we have to do that, but that is the
way it is.
lesser of the two evils there. Also, the Scouting for Food drive is underway. Collections. They dropped off the plastic bags at residents, and I know they did this at least in Jackson. They may have done some other places. We had one on our door, and the idea is that you fill that food bag up with non-perishable food and leave it out there on the door again Saturday morning. No
Yes.
later than Saturday morning, the scouts will come by. If they dropped off a bag, they'll come to pick up
Yep.
a bag. And then they will donate their non-perishable food to local food pantries. It's called their Scouting for Food drive. If you didn't get a bag or you just as soon drop it off yourself, you can do it next Saturday from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. at Christ Church of Jackson,
Okay.
150 Portsmouth Street. Also, want to remind everybody that the city of Jackson is doing fire hydrant flushing.
Yes.
If they're in your neighborhood, it could affect, the color of your water short term. This is the second week of 4 weeks, and they're going to be and this week they're going to be in the Jackson Heights area, Pleasant View, Robin Hill Lane, that side of State Route 93 from Taco Bell to Franklin Valley Road, Yellow Delicious Drive, Apricot Lane, Canterbury Drive, Twin Oaks Drive. Out that way, they're also going to be off the Beaver Pike in town, Cherry Street, Reservoir Road. They're going to be on Elm Street, Maple Avenue, over there on the far west side, and on to David Avenue from State Street to South Street, Parkview Avenue, State Street from David Avenue to High Street and Ohio Avenue. So on the west side, and then down on the south side off 93, Jackson Heights down that way, those subdivisions, those housing subdivisions that way. And then the fire hydrant work will continue the next week. The city of Jackson will be posting where they're going to be working during that week for the next 2 weeks, and we'll try to keep up with that as well.
That's right. And I know they're also doing a bit of a repair, just to let you all know, down kind of by the area of the filling station and the dollar store down there. Part of that road that was redone not too long ago has kind of given way, and I think they're having to go back in and do some work on that. So should be able to be passed through. It's just might take you a second to get around it.
Right. And there's going to be I should mention this, Jennifer. I was going to wait and mention this later in the week, but I should say it ahead of time because it's not a regular scheduled event. There's going to be a big benefit at Wellston Middle School next Saturday. It's called the Love for Live benefit, and it's to benefit Wellston High School student Olivia Liv Montgomery. She's a 17-year-old from Wellston who is battling a form of cancer for the third time. She's been battling this since 2019, and this will help her family with some of the medical expenses and the ancillary expenses, transportation. Those out-of-pocket expenses that go up, when you're having to travel a lot and you're dealing with something like this. But it's going to be from Wellston Middle School all day, basically, during the daytime hours, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. There's going to be vendors there. A chicken noodle dinner will begin at 11. There will be a bingo starting at 3, a Chinese auction with the drawing at 4:30 p.m. There will be a 50-50 raffle with a drawing at 5 p.m. and there will be a lottery tree with a drawing at 5 p.m. So sounds like, from mid-morning on all the way to past 5 o'clock at the middle school for a very good cause. Love for Live.
Yep. All right. Well, Pete, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here. I know you have a busy week ahead of you. And we will be back. Hey, weather's looking pretty good this week. So looks like highs around 70 for the next couple of days, even 80 by Wednesday.
Right. Okay. Can you believe it?
We'll take it.
And then summers come late.
There you go.
All right.
All right. Have a wonderful day, everyone. And we'll be right back here tomorrow. Thanks for watching.